You think you miss them. You think the ache in your chest proves it was love. You think the reason you keep checking your phone, replaying their face, defending them to yourself, returning to them in fantasy, is because what you felt was rare and true. But often the person you cannot release is not the person you knew. It is the person you imagined. It is the meaning you poured into them. It is the unlived part of your own soul wearing another face. That is why I must tell you something painful. You may not be in love. You may be projecting. Maybe not all of it. Maybe not every feeling. But enough that it has taken your freedom. Projection is what happens when something inside you is too powerful, too hungry, too neglected, too beautiful, or too dangerous to be carried consciously. So you place it on another person. Then you do not merely see them. You experience them as fate. You say, I have never felt this way before. Perhaps not. But that does not always mean you have found the right person. Sometimes it means you have found the right screen. This is why some attractions feel almost supernatural. You meet someone, and within days, they seem familiar, necessary, charged with meaning. You do not know their character yet. You do not know how they behave under pressure. You do not know how they tell the truth, how they handle anger, how they treat weakness, how they live when no one is watching. And still, you feel seized. That is the first warning. Real love can grow slowly and still be deep. Projection usually arrives with force. It floods the room. It makes small signals feel enormous. A delayed message feels tragic. A moment of warmth feels redemptive. A look across a table feels like destiny. You think you are seeing them. Very often, you are seeing your own unlived life reflected back at you. This is the surface problem. You keep falling for people who consume you, confuse you, or leave you starving. You tell yourself the problem is bad luck, chemistry, timing, or the modern world. But beneath that, another drama is unfolding. You are trying to recover lost parts of yourself through another person. I learned something of this in my own descent into the unconscious. During the years after my break with Freud, I did not sit at a safe intellectual distance from the soul. I was pulled into it. I met figures inwardly with an intensity that shook me. One of them was Salome, a feminine figure who carried fascination, danger, feeling, and soul. It would have been easy to treat such an image as if it belonged to some outer woman who would complete me. But the deeper lesson was harder. What grips you from outside often begins as an image inside. If you do not relate to it inwardly, you will worship it outwardly. That is one of the oldest mistakes in love. You meet a human being, but what overwhelms you is the hidden image they awaken. Jung gave one name to this kind of process: projection. At times it gathers around the inner feminine in a man or the inner masculine in a woman, but do not be frightened by those terms. In plain language, it means this: there are qualities of soul you have not yet learned to carry: tenderness, authority, fire, permission, beauty, wildness, depth, eros, direction. Because you do not know them as yours, you experience them as belonging to someone else. Then you become dependent on that person for your contact with life. Now look at how this appears in ordinary experience. A woman keeps falling for damaged men she wants to rescue. At first she calls it compassion. She says she sees the good in them. She says she is patient, loyal, understanding. But each time the story is the same. He's unavailable, confused, burdened, half present. She pours in warmth, effort, emotional labor, late-night conversations, forgiveness. She tells herself the bond is deep because it is painful. In truth, something in her is addicted to being the healer because she has projected her own strength, value, and purpose onto being needed. She does not feel alive in calm love. She feels alive in emotional emergency. That is not love. That is projection mixed with hunger. Or take the man who cannot stop chasing the cold, elegant, unreachable woman. The more distant she is, the more powerful his obsession becomes. If she gives him one evening of tenderness, he lives on it for weeks. If she withdraws, he becomes frantic. He calls it passion. But often he is not relating to the woman who is actually there. He is trying to win from her what he never won from another face long ago. Perhaps a distant mother. Perhaps a withholding father whose approval he never truly felt. He is not simply in a relationship. He is on trial in an older court. And because the old wound is speaking, reality disappears. Now consider work. A person meets a charismatic boss, mentor, or creative leader and becomes instantly captivated. The boss seems brilliant, fearless, decisive, alive. Suddenly the employee works too hard, checks every message, reshapes their personality to stay close to that force. Praise from that person feels like sunlight. Criticism feels like annihilation. Why such intensity? Not because the boss is a god, because the viewer has projected missing authority, confidence, and direction onto another human being. They are kneeling before qualities they have not yet claimed in themselves. This is how projection steals dignity. It does not only happen in romance. It happens anywhere the soul smells something it has lost. This is why you must be careful when a connection feels fated too early. Fate may be present, but fate is not always permission. Sometimes fate is simply repetition with a sacred costume. You may ask, how can I tell the difference between love and projection? Begin here. When you are with the person, do you become more real or less real? Do you speak more truth or less truth? Do you grow steadier or more frantic? Do you know them more clearly over time? Or do you keep defending an image that reality keeps contradicting? Projection hates facts. If the person lies, projection explains it away. If they disappear, projection romanticizes it. If they show selfishness, projection says they are wounded. If they wound you, projection says the pain proves depth. Real love can survive disappointment because it loves a real person. Projection often collapses into rage, humiliation, or obsession the moment reality breaks the spell. And when the spell breaks, many people do not grieve only the person. They grieve the self they thought that person would finally allow them to become. This is why some heartbreak feels larger than the relationship itself. You are mourning a future, a fantasy, a rescue, an initiation, a permission slip. You are mourning the part of you that seemed alive in their presence. Then comes the dangerous thought, I will never feel this again. Perhaps you are right. You may never again feel that exact intoxication. But that does not mean you lost your one true love. It may mean you lost access to an illusion that was carrying your unlived life. And now, the soul is asking you to carry it yourself. This is the turning point. You are not in love if the person exists mainly as a feeling inside you. You are not in love if reality keeps shrinking while fantasy keeps expanding. You are not in love if you know almost nothing concrete, but feel everything absolute. You are not in love if longing matters more than truth. You may be projecting. Now we must go deeper. Because projection is not only foolishness, it is also a message. If you keep idealizing powerful people, then perhaps your own buried power is asking to be lived. If you keep worshipping emotionally expressive people, then perhaps your own feeling life has been starved. If you keep falling for reckless, alive, dangerous people, then perhaps your own instinct, desire, and spontaneity were buried under obedience. If you keep craving people who seem calm and self-possessed, perhaps you were never taught how to hold yourself from within. The person who obsesses you may be carrying a missing piece of your own psyche. That does not mean the attraction is meaningless. It means the meaning is deeper than romance. This is why the cure is not cynicism. I am not telling you never to love, never to admire, never to be moved. I am telling you to withdraw the gold you have poured onto another human being and ask what in you it belongs to. What did you hand to them? Your courage? Your softness? Your sense of beauty? Your permission to desire? Your inner authority? Your ability to live without asking approval? You must begin there. Then do something simple and severe. Write down what is fact and what is fantasy. Fact: they cancel plans. Fantasy: they are scared because the bond is so deep. Fact: they rarely ask about your inner life. Fantasy: they understand you better than anyone. Fact: you are anxious most of the time. Fantasy: this anxiety is the price of great love. Projection weakens when language becomes honest. Then watch your body. Not the fantasy in your head. The body. Do you become smaller around them? More alert? More ashamed? More eager to perform? More afraid to tell the truth? Your body often knows long before your story does. And then there is the hardest task of all. Disappointment. To withdraw projection, you must allow the other person to become ordinary. Not magical. Not cursed. Not your destiny. A person. With limits, mixed motives, blindness, wounds, vanity, needs, and ordinary human contradiction. Many people would rather stay obsessed than face the ordinariness of the person they made into a god. Because once the god becomes human, they must face their own emptiness directly. That is why some people return again and again to impossible love. The impossibility protects the fantasy. Distance keeps projection alive. Closeness would destroy it. This is also why you may find yourself bored by healthy love. A steady person does not always ignite the same ancient machinery. They do not make you chase, guess, decode, or beg. They do not stimulate the old wound with enough violence to feel like destiny, so you call them flat. Yet often they are simply real, and you have been trained to confuse agitation with depth. remember the title. You are not in love if you are addicted to being emotionally overtaken. You are not in love if your inner life needs the other person to stay inflated. You are not in love if what you desire most is not the person, but the state they put you in. You are projecting. This does not mean the connection has no value. Sometimes projection begins a real relationship. Sometimes another person truly does awaken something sacred in you. But if the relationship is to become real, the projection must eventually die. You must see them, and you must see yourself. The soul does not send these overwhelming attractions only to torment you. Sometimes it uses them to show you where you are divided. It says, look at what you have abandoned. Look at what you have exiled. Look at the life in you that had to appear on another face because you would not claim it directly. If you do not learn this, you will repeat the pattern endlessly. New face, same spell. New chemistry, same wound. New promise, same collapse. You will call it bad luck. You will call it modern dating. You will call it fated, karmic, impossible, rare. But underneath, the old machinery remains untouched. So the next time someone seizes your imagination, do not ask only, do I want them? Ask, what part of me have I placed in them? Ask, what quality becomes luminous in their presence? Ask, what truth about myself am I refusing to live directly? This is where freedom begins. Not when you finally possess the person. Not when they choose you. Not when they send the message you crave. Freedom begins when you stop begging another human being to carry your soul for you. Then perhaps for the first time, love becomes possible. Not obsession, not worship, not collapse. Love. A real encounter between two human beings, neither of whom has to become a god, so the other can feel alive. Until then, be careful what you call destiny. Some of what feels like love is only the psyche trying to return you to yourself. And if that is what is happening, then the person you cannot stop thinking about was never the final answer. They were the mirror. The deeper question is whether you will keep kneeling before the reflection or finally reclaim the life you placed inside it.